Hey, what's up everybody? Hope you're having an amazing day so far. I'm your host Phil, and today's video I'm going to show you a small little trick to make your NAM captures even more accurate. But first, let's roll that intro clip. Thank you so much everybody for tuning in today's video. Yeah, as I said in the intro, there is one small little trick to make your NAM captures even a little bit more accurate. Now, if you are wondering what Neural-Amp Modeler is, then you might have been living under a rock, because Neural-Amp Modeler is the latest and greatest when it comes to capturing technology. It's basically an open source standard which has come up like 2 years ago or something, and it really took the world, at least for me and for a lot of other people, by absolute storm. It's really awesome. It's really accurate to use. It's there's now also the NAM player by Dimehead, which is a hardware unit which can play these captures which you're creating, and all fine and dandy. However, there's still some room for improvement. There always is room for improvement, and one of the core features on the Neural-Amp Modeler captures which people were not so happy with, or one of the core aspects, not feature, it's not a feature, it's a bug basically, and that is aliasing. So Neural-Amp Modeler is pretty strong when it comes to aliasing for whatever reason. Aliasing, in case you don't know, that's basically digital artifacts which are added, which is very prominent when you are doing a sine sweep and you're getting into the higher frequency realms. Then you're getting this weird whoop, 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 right down below your actual signal. I can also demonstrate this on this guitar. That's why I got this over here set up. Yeah, and this aliasing can drive you nuts, especially when you're using high gain profiles. It just sounds very weird when doing bends on higher notes. That's a weird thing. And there is, however, maybe potentially a solution to this, and this is called SUPERINPUT. Now, this is this came up by somebody who goes by the name Francois Neuralnet in the NAM community. He's very active there, and yeah, we also had some chats in the past. And he's like a madman. He's always trying to find a better solution, this and that. How about this? How about that? And he's very active on the forefront of pushing for AI-driven technologies, basically. So he came up with this SUPERINPUT-file, which you are replacing your original NAM training file with, and then the result is an bettered up aliasing behavior. So let's first dive into what aliasing is, so that you kind of understand what the problem is at hand. I now got my EVH 5150 capture over here with no effects applied whatsoever in the Neural-Amp Modeler player by Dimehead, and I'm trying to provoke this. This is going to sound super annoying, sorry for that, but try to listen at not the actual note which I'm bending, but what is happening underneath. So that's kind of like when I bend the note and it's going like up, then you have like this down below somehow. I'm going to try to replicate this. I hope that you could hear this like whoop, 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 which is going down below the actual notes. This is happening with a lot of high gain profiles, and yeah, for this, the SUPERINPUT is meant to solve this, or at least reduce this substantially. So I want to find out if that's really the case, and with that, let's roll to the next scene. So the question is, how can we actually gain access to this trainer file, which I'm talking about, the SUPERINPUT wave? You go to the Facebook group Neural-Amp Modeler, then you have to search for Francois Neuralnet, that's his name, and over here he got this post, finally a viable solution to reduce NAM aliasing. And then you go to the Google Drive link over here, and you can download this file over here. This sounds a little bit different than the original NAM trainer file. This has a lot of high frequency sweeps going on. To be very honest, I personally would not recommend using this if you are using like a regular full rig profile. The reason is it's so annoying to listen to these high frequencies all the time. I would definitely go with something which is a load box, so that you're not hearing actual what's going on. You would then go ahead and set this up in Reaper, and apply that file over here. You can see over here, this is the original NAM file, and you can see actually that the super input incorporates the original NAM file over here, the second half. But the first half, you can see that there's a lot of different sine sweeps going on in an excruciatingly loud volume, so I do not recommend torturing your ears by this. I'm not even sure if it's safe to use through a normal cabinet, but that's for other people to check and decide upon. Just know you gotta set this up, and then you have to reamp all of the stuff, which I already did over here. Once that is done, you can use the wonders of ToneZone 3000, which is an amazing website. If you're not aware of ToneZone 3000, go make yourself an account. What this allows for is doing NAM training completely decoupled from your PC. So this is something very similar to Google Colab in the day back when you had to pay your points in Google Colab so you can do online training. ToneZone 3000 does the same thing but faster. It's absolutely free. You have a lot of stuff going on, and it has a direct API, meaning a direct connection to ToneHunt. Now, ToneHunt is also this huge database of different NAM profiles, and by now they are hosted and managed and maintained by the same people. So, awesome people who came up with ToneZone 3000, super happy with that. You got two different options over here when it comes to, hang on, let me take my hideous face away. There we go. When it comes to setting up your training setup, you can use the original sweep signal. That means you just drag in the audio which you have done for your original training. That's what I did when I did my normal training of this setup over here. And you can also use a dry and wet pair. What this allows for is that you can use customizable dry signals and then the wet signal. Over here, you would load in the super input, and over here in the wet signal, you would load the reamped super input signal. And then just get along, train, and then download the NAM results which came out. I prepared now everything within Reaper. I downloaded the NAM models which I trained on ToneZone 3000. I went ahead, placed them into Reaper, put them on a Thrash riff, which I use for testing purposes. And I also made sure that I reamped that same riff through the actual chain. The chain is consisting of an MXR M77, which is boosting my EVH 5150 on the red channel. That is then going through the Saint Rock React IR2 reactive load box straight back into the interface. Let's first listen to the actual riff over here, so it's just that you get an idea of the sound which I'm going after. Very typical thrash tone, which I dial in. You know, that's kind of my sound aesthetic, my style of dialing in sounds. And what I now want to find out is the super input NAM file less accurate, more accurate, the same accuracy than the regular NAM file or the regular NAM training file? If there is less accuracy, then we can immediately stop this experiment, and I'm not interested in that, because I'm not going to risk the accuracy of my profile in order to gain a little bit on the aliasing side of things. I'm not into that. So I want to first find out if they sound exactly the same. How I'm going to do this, I'm going to solo out all the tracks over here. I rendered them out. I normalized them in volume, so they all have the same volume. And whatever is highlighted over here, item-wise, that is the respective thing which you are currently listening to. Purple is the actual reamped chain. Green is the super input, and this light blue is the regular NAM training file. So let's see what that sounds like. I'm going to start with the actual reamped setup. Nice. In my opinion, there's absolutely zero difference between any of them. You know, I could not discern any difference. If you would, set at gunpoint and tell me, hey, which one is which, I could not tell you what's going on. So that means that the super input, at least, while we still not have yet proven if it does reduce the aliasing, it definitely helps retaining the accuracy same as the regular NAM training file, which is awesome. We're going to do another test in this regard. We're going to do the null test. I already made sure that they are all set up phase-wise, that they are aligned correctly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now set this to solo defeat. That means whenever I'm going to add another track in solo mode, this one will remain over here, this purple one, will remain in solo mode. That means that I can now effectively do a null test because both of my test candidates, so meaning the normal NAM and the super input NAM, are both set to phase inverse. And that way we can do our proper null test by just soloing between the two of them. You know, as you can see, whenever I got the green highlighted, the super input is active and null testing against the real deal, and light blue is the normal null testing against the real deal. Let's see what that sounds like, if we can hear any difference between the two different null test results. So, in my opinion, there's also, when doing the null test, barely any difference at all between the normal input and the super input. Let's null test them against each other, although there's a little bit kind of pointless because you're always going to have a little bit left over, so it's not going to completely null itself out. Hang on, there we go. So the accuracy, I would say, is pretty similar to what we are having when we're just using a normal NAM trainer file, when we're using the super input, which is already a good accomplishment. There's no loss in accuracy. I mean, we're using the original, or we're incorporating the original NAM file within those test setups, so it would be of great wonder, to be honest, if accuracy would have gone lost. However, now comes the real test, and that is the aliasing reduced? Before we dive into the next section, one word of warning over here. What you're going to listen to are sine sweeps, which are going to go from the very low frequencies to the very high frequencies, and that through a distorted guitar signal chain. Now, please make sure that you adjust the volume accordingly. I'm going to try and post to reduce the volume so that I think it's listenable to, but please make sure that you also take respective precautions and maybe turn down the volume from here on a little bit lower so that you're not causing any damage to either your equipment or your hearing. You know, and if you have ignored this message, then I'm sorry for you, but I'm not viable for that. Okay, so what I got over here is I set up sine sweep generators on all different 3 tracks over here. So this down below is the purple track, which is actually sending it through the amp in real time. So what you're going to listen to is the actual amp working with that sine sweep generator in real time. And then over here on the respective other tracks, I got the sine sweep generator already running. They're not running in pure synchronicity, so just keep that in mind, that, you know, they're not going to be always at the same point in their swipe. So as soon as I click over here, we will hear the high frequency peak going on. Yeah, and then you're going to hear that there's no aliasing. So let's go. So this is a pretty clean frequency sweep. There's no aliasing happening because we're going through the analog signal chain. Let me do the same with the normal NAM profile, and then you're gonna hopefully hear what I mean with aliasing. It's gonna be kind of a flapping as soon as it goes into the upper frequency realm. Okay, let's listen to it. So I think that's pretty clear what's happening over there. This like weird, which is happening in the like below the actual sweep. So that's basically the aliasing which is happening, and that's pretty strong, pretty substantial in the higher frequency realm. Let's go ahead and compare that with the super input. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to now activate this on both tracks, and through soloing out the single ones, I can choose which one you're listening to. So again, when the blue is highlighted, then we're listening to normal. Green is the super input. Let's go. Make sure that you are setting down your volume, and let's rock and roll. So this is definitely interesting results which we're getting over here. For me personally, in my listening experience, it's very clear that the super input is performing better than the normal input when it comes to aliasing, reducing the aliasing, and on all the other fronts, it's performing exactly like the normal. So in fact, it is technically superior. And if you are interested in, reducing those aliasing artifacts, I would highly recommend from now on going ahead and using the super input. I have to say, for myself, I'm not sure if I will implement this as a standard practice, because I like to do local training and I don't want to mess around with the original NAM file which is loaded in. And when you are using ToneZone 3000, which works awesome with the dry-wet pair configuration, you have nothing which compensates for recording latency. Let me explain what I mean with that. So let me move my face down over here in OBS. There we go. If you look overhead at the input file, you have these spikes which indicate basically which are being used by the original NAM trainer file to align the output with the input so that you get zero latency. You can see over here that this over here perhaps is the peak of this input signal, and it is shifted a little bit. I think it's like 300 samples or something, yeah, roundabout, which kind of equates somewhere around 4 milliseconds. So that means if you don't manually compensate for this and shift this sideways like so, and then render it out, then you might end up with having some latency. And if you are doing that, sometimes your ESR is suffering by that. So meaning the accuracy of your training file is suffering by that if you don't do that correctly. It's a little bit of a nerdy thing over here to kind of take into consideration, but it definitely is worth knowing about the trade-offs which you're getting over here. So you got to make sure that the latency compensation is dealt with, or that it's so limited, in my case 4 milliseconds, that I can say, you know what, I don't give a damn, I'm just going to run it like it is for testing purposes and just run with it. So, but just be aware that this is the case. Yeah, I think that this hopefully describes in all detail what you need to know about the super input. And yeah, let's get to the conclusion section. The closing thoughts segment of this video is basically a love hymn to the NAM community. I really think it's awesome that all of us, like the hardcore of the neural amp modeler community, we're always trying to push the boundaries and sharing the knowledge between each other and distributing that, which is really awesome. Love to see that. This is a prime example of what I mean with that. Somebody was really bothered by the aliasing, and then he tackled that problem, did a lot of testing, came up with a cool solution. In the same vein, like I do videos for people, like showcasing stuff, how I dialed in a tone, how the neural amp modeler pedal works, you know, stuff like that. So everybody's doing their own thing within the community. This is really awesome. This over here, the super input file, is another small step on the path to getting the most accurate thing, which we already have, which is cool. But to make it an even better solution for everybody out there and for every single use case. This is awesome. I really recommend playing around with that. I mean, in the end, using stuff which is as awesome as Tone Zone 3000. I'm using that word quite often, awesome, but it is. You know, having those possibilities, you can do like a lot of different testing for yourself to find the right thing. You can use the regular normal NAM file. It's still gonna sound great. You can use the super input, try a little bit around. Hopefully this video has guided you a little bit into that topic, how to get your feet wet with that. Sorry for this being a very nerdy video. However, I think from time to time it's quite refreshing to not have like something as a product review at display, which will certainly come in the future again, but instead having something which actually dives deep into the technological side of things. Hope you appreciate that as well. If you like what I do over here, then please do all of that algorithm mumbo jumbo, you know, like, subscribe, share, comment, all of that. If you want to support what I do, I got some NAM packs and Tonex Kemper STL Tones Tracer packs, which are linked down below. Each of them cost $9.99. You're doing a great service and helping me out, and a lot of you already bought some packs, for which I'm super, super grateful. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's close this video. Let's wrap it up. Thank you everybody for watching. See you in the next video. Until then, keep it metal.